Buzz, welcome to the Lab Rat Foiler podcast, man. I can't believe that you're even here. Thank you so much for making time, for being so candid with, your energy and just saying
Yeah,
yes. You're a yes man, aren't
sure.
you?
Yeah, I mean, fun things first, and talking about passion, the Parawing fraud is real.
Is
Do we
real.
talk it Parawinging? I mean, we will figure out maybe during this podcast. But yeah,
Dude, I
thanks for
think we're
being
gonna
here.
we're gonna dive deep into parawinging. We're gonna be exploring everything about parawinging, and everything that you're doing on a parawing, which is absolutely insane to watch you. And every time you come out with a video, I almost like just sit down and like, all right, what's happening now? What's coming up?
Well,
So
I think it's likewise the same when we're heading out the water, and we're like every day we're blown away by the potential, and it's yeah, what a time to be alive. We keep
what a
saying.
time. No, it's amazing, man. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the podcast and your
It's
vote of confidence on something that you have no idea what it was, why we're doing it. But I always like to start the podcast by asking our guests to talk about their history in sports, where they're coming from, and what they bring to parawinging. So tell us a little bit about your history in sports.
Well, I'm obviously coming from Switzerland, well known for its famous surf conditions. I mean, no, but I've been very lucky growing up in a very sportive family. My dad, he used to windsurf his whole life. He used to actually start kiting very early as well. And we had the opportunity to travel, not the world, but we traveled often to the oceans and to just basically to beaches to get on the water. And likewise, I guess as well here in Switzerland, people would underrate our potential for lake surfing, for lake
Mm-hmm.
windsurfing, for wind
Mm-hmm.
sports. And I'm driven by this sensation of going out there and being, I mean, the worst thing for me is sitting still here now and recording this podcast, because all I want to do is get out there and have a foil freaking great time. But the case is that since a young kid I was the active boy who needed to move, who needed to get out
Mm-hmm.
there on the lake, on the ocean, on this beautiful playground where you can create and move and do whatever you feel like. And our parents, I mean, I have two younger brothers, and all three
Mm-hmm.
of us, we're kind of these driven forces who want to explore and who want to
Yep.
do adventures and go out there. And we obviously pushed each other
Mm-hmm.
ever since. And the parents, they didn't hold us on the short lines neither. So they gave us the opportunity to go out there, and they supported our ways.
Amazing.
Although kiting was not allowed in Switzerland, since my
Ah,
dad, he dropped his kite, but back in the 2000s when they were like launching 20-meter
yeah.
Nash aero with a leading edge, which was like this kind of big. And he had some stupid kite mares. He
Yep.
went into a harbor wall, he went into a tree, and then
Jeez.
obviously we were only allowed to kite. But it was also ridiculous launching a kite back then on four lines without safety, nothing in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of were forced to windsurf, but I would not say forced, because we absolutely love freestyle windsurfing. For me,
Yeah.
this is like the essence of life, is creating something new, and freestyling, it's unlimited. Every day there's a new sensation. Every day there's a new move. Every day there's something to explore. And I think that leads me straight to the point where we sit at now,
Mm-hmm.
parawinging.
Yeah.
It's again this amazing possibility of pioneering something that would, I mean, it's existing since a long time. People been trying
Mm-hmm.
kite foiling on short lines, on bridles. People were fooling around with umbrellas in the
Yeah.
hands. We tried tents, we tried anything, but it's sort of all like just the evolution kept on growing and going forward. The gear got better, and now we're here, and there's a new discipline, water sport discipline born, and I'm so sure it's there to stay. And I guess it's gonna be, or it is already, the glue between surf sports and wind
Mm-hmm.
sports,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't like each other. I mean, obviously the surfers usually they always give shit for the windsurfers, and we don't talk to each other. Even the kite surfers and the windsurfers don't talk to each other. I'm kind of different, because I want to
Mm-hmm.
be a waterman, and that's I'm I'm living for and from water sports, and I want to become a Swiss waterman. That's my ultimate goal, which sounds
You
awkward and
definitely
weird.
are. I don't
I'm
think you
working
have to
hard on
become anything. You're already there, my friend. We
it.
and I love what you're talking about, because this is what this podcast is about. The name Lab Rat is based on all of us being lab rats in this experiment of foiling and just saying yes to everything and being open
Open
minded
minded, yeah.
to try new things. And I think you're the perfect example of that.
Being open
From
minded, yeah, that's true.
from windsurfing, and then the other day I saw you on the foil scooter, and then the next day you're on a wing doing things that no one ever saw, and just these freak tricks,
Yeah.
and everything you do has this enormous amount of energy, an enormous amount of creativity. Where do you think that comes from?
Well, I guess from the coffee, since I'm growing old. No, no, but it's definitely my nature as well. Like I'm kinda the active person, and just as I mentioned before, like sitting still in school, I was always looking out the window, and if the trees were moving, there was no holding me back. And yeah, just what I mentioned before, fun things first, and each person has this own universe. You're living in this bubble. What really fulfills you. And for me, even if it's just what you mentioned, scooter pump foiling, I'd rather be out there on the lake in the nature than doing whatever else. And the case is pump scooter. It's really awkward, but it's still great pleasure. And if you're not
Yeah,
trying it out, you're missing out on something. Who
on
knows?
something.
Maybe that's indeed how it all leads to where we're sitting at now.
And are these all spontaneous ideas that you just say, I'm just going to go and try this? Or are you more analytical about this, and you're like, oh, I'm going to put this with that, and you
I'm
think about it more?
Yeah, I'm a big dreamer, and I'm not the kind of guy who's if there's something around, I can't wait for tomorrow and bother about how it could be perfect. I'm rather the guy, if something new comes up now in this podcast, I will jump out after the podcast and straight away gonna hit the water, even if it's dark. I have to do it instantly, because
Yeah.
you never know what happens next.
And what's the process that you go through when you're trying to learn something new? You have
Well,
something in your head or in your mind, like, I
yeah.
want to try this. How do you go about it?
Well, I'm always having this saying that first of all, there must be the wish. Like I have these wishes every day, and then I dream it, and then I risk it, and then I kind of learn it. And
Hmm.
if you go through this process, it's a funny story. Imagine you're standing at this dock, and I've experienced it often. You have the young kid and his dad. And I'm kind of the guy who's teaching them how to approach pump foiling. The young kid is, give me the board. I want to get out there. I know what I want to do. I see the goal. And the dad is this dangerous? How do we need to approach it? And obviously he's stepping on the board, maybe giving 40%, and the young kid is jumping on it with 140%, and the young kid will go straight away, even though that's like the dangerous approach. But I kind of think sometimes in life you really have to risk something to get to a point. And I'm I'm the kind of person who is always thinking about the security, and I'm not just going head down stupid into the wall. But
Hmm.
but obviously you got to, yeah, wish it, dream it, risk it, and then eventually learn it. And very
Yeah,
important, learning means not only learning it for yourself, but sharing it with the community. Because in this process, if you're actually standing next to your friend, explaining him how you approach it, and he's like kind of
I love
giving
that.
you the advices in his open mind or in his mind, you're progressing, because you're only able to learn or successful approach a maneuver 100% if you kind of learn it one way, the other way, and then explain it to someone else, and then this person approach it right, and then eventually you're having it. So this is like mastering something.
Yeah, and everything you're doing is so new that I think once you share it, I think your brain it does all the connections that needs to happen, and then all of a sudden I think and I do that when I want to try something new. I just played in my head so many times that I'm almost already doing it before I even try it the first time.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, and I think sometimes I even take too long to try because I'm thinking about it too much.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, obviously that's also good, you know. If you, I'm often daydreaming. I mean, I probably went through school daydreaming and mentally surfing my way to where I'm sitting now. But I kind of guess, I'm not only guessing, I know it really helps. Mental surfing is a really important capture in progressing and learning, and that definitely helps. And now these days, social media, and not only social media, all these platforms and what you're doing, what we're all doing, sharing passion, knowledge, and the stoke is definitely, I mean, it's never been as easy to access something new as we're heading now into a new capture of artificial learning, I guess, artificial intelligent learning. Who knows?
Dude, I feel like sometimes I want to be in the movie Matrix where you just stick that thing in your head and then like, I know jujitsu, you know, like, because I just consume so much of what I'm obsessed by.
Now it's a vision in the far future, but I guess we're much further than than we're thinking. Because I know that in Switzerland they have these microchips, nanochips, which can already transform thoughts into digital letters or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So we're not far from that process, but the case is you still have to have this eager wish to approach something and make something happen. And I guess it's going to be a very interesting future, because people which have the motivation, because obviously motivation and focus, that's what's needed to get to face something new. And you don't need to motivate me, but I hope to motivate other people. I hope to motivate you guys out there to try something new.
Yeah.
That's my ultimate goal.
And I think just your energy and your openness, it is inspiring, man. It's absolutely inspiring. Do you remember the first time you saw the Parawing? Do you remember where that was?
Well, I guess it was already quite a while ago, because what I've seen was like these Cynthia with these pocket wings.
Yeah.
We should really mention the pocket wing as well. You know, the guys from 5.0, they were
100%
early adapters of something which was leading a new way and definitely changed my life forever. And I guess like 2.5, 3 years ago, we have this NASA kite, so this blue little NASA whatever trainer beach kite. We used to play with that one in the dunes 25 years ago. And long story short, we were really shredding this thing on bridles 25 years ago. As a young little 5-year-old boy, I was playing with it on the bridles. I was imagine myself as a paraglider holding this little NASA kite jumping down the dune. And I was since ever attracted of kites, like just the possibility of flying anyway really attracts me, although I'm freaking scared of falling. I mean, I'm not afraid of height. I might be afraid of height, but the case is with water sport, you can fall 1,000 times and nothing ever happened, you know, kind of weirdo, luckily touching wood. But this NASA kite really built this connection to a handhold wing before actually the sport came apart. And I guess my very first attempt on parawinging, if we're calling it parawinging, was like 2 years ago when I was actually holding that NASA parawing and I flew downwind certain meters, and then it got wet and nothing happened anymore.
Yeah. But I did a similar thing with my boy's trainer kite. It's a 2.5, and I just held the bridles. And I was like, oh, there's something there. And that was when I saw the pocket wing. So the pocket wing was the first one you saw.
Yeah.
And
I guess it was not the pocket. I guess it was Cynthia's
the
parachute. But the pocket wing, I've got the pocket wing in my hand early last season. So it was already 1 year ago in Switzerland. The guys were already frothing about, like, the idea of getting up. For me, was so attractive. The idea of getting up on the foil without actually paddling. I'm not that passionate about holding that stick all the time and paddling, and it was quite a lot of effort. And for me, being a wind-driven
Mm-hmm.
water sports lover, it was a no-brainer that I prefer like just holding
Made more
this thing,
sense.
getting up and fly, and then
How did the
so
pocket wing feel?
felt awkward, and that
Yeah.
was the case because first of all, like having these, no, it didn't felt awkward. I would not say awkward. That's the wrong. It just to me it was like straight away when I saw it, it was sure that we will face like a crazy revolution
Mm.
and big progress in this new sport. Because I was sure that these two handles and the kind of steering behavior of the wing and the capability of wind range and riding
Mm-hmm.
range was too small and I mean, and then obviously board riding Maui came along, and that's when it absolutely exploded. And that's
Yeah.
when literally at Ensis, like my friends and I, we've got sleepless nights, and still like until now, almost
Since
10
September last year when they launched
since
this.
September. Yeah, the case is like we did literally had like the first thing in the morning was Parawing messages, and the last thing in the evening was Parawing messages, and the passion for it is it's enormous.
Yeah.
And
I always
yeah,
like to give Greg and the guys in Maui and everyone involved with the Pocket Wing as well, like a huge shout out because I feel like you as well. It completely changed my life and my approach to foiling. I
hmm
Once I saw it, I saw the Pocket Wing and it wasn't quite there. Something about it didn't attract me immediately.
hmm
But then when I saw the BRM, I bought it within 5 minutes of watching the launch video.
yeah,
And I was
that's
like, I
true.
need that.
That's
I need
true.
that. I need that as quick as I can. What about the Parawing is so unique? What drew you to it?
Well, I think it's being it's being directly connected to your power source. At the same time, I mean, winging is like the most efficient, direct, responsive connection. But I prefer having a wing or a kite because it kind of goes with the flow in
Yes.
the air, and at the same time, the power source is a kind of unconnected. So it's
Mm-hmm.
sort of I love kite surfing, strapless freestyle. I'm a freaking beginner, but I love it.
Yep.
But the cases with the kite, I don't really like being always hooked in, and this certain like risk of getting tracked wherever. For me, kiting was always more attractive, like being unhooked,
Yeah.
fooling around, and so obviously it all makes sense. And I guess I would even say it's gonna be the ultimate water sport discipline, Parawing,
Mm.
because it combines it all for me. It combines the sailing aspect, the surfing aspect, and like the maneuver aspects of freestyle,
Yeah.
windsurfing, kiting. It will eventually bring it all together, I guess.
Yeah.
It already
I
does for me.
It does for me too. My background, I started kite foiling and then went to winging and proning and
hmm
then started sup downwinding. And the parawing, I can do all of that.
hmm
I can surf, I can go downwinding, I can do everything I want to do on a wing, and
And it
I
got the simplicity. That's the case. Like you pop it up within, I mean, with the lines.
yeah, look
Obviously, as a rookie, the learning process, we'll probably get into it later
we
on.
will.
In the very beginning, it's definitely a new challenge. But that's what I liked as well about it. I'm still
It's
liking it.
But it is, I agree with you that it is simple. When I think about like setting up a kite on the beach and you have to pump and you put the lines out and then, like you have your harness. Like today with the Parawing, I don't like riding hooked in. I just like to ride
Yeah,
it as it is. So you just get that
free
little
ride.
bag. Then I always feel like I'm missing something. I'm like, what am I missing when I'm going out?
The
Because
bump,
yeah,
the
there's no gear.
leash.
It's so minimal, and I love that
Yeah,
about the parawinging. It is simple.
yeah,
It is simple. Let's talk about gear
yeah.
then. What kind of gear do you ride when you're doing those insane backflips and freestyle maneuvers?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, my take a little round back here
Yeah.
because when we started this whole project, my close friend Roham, he's involved with Ensis as well. He's obviously like together we were pioneering wing foiling from the very beginning as well, in especially in freestyling. So he's turning, yeah, he's also getting older. Like we're not the youngest anymore. And then he was eventually telling me, "Oh, Parawinging, so sick. That's like the final destination. Now, from now on, strapless, pure free riding.
Yep.
No more stupid tricks. No more nightmare handle passes, whatever." And then literally, like I would say 3 or 4 weeks later, I start doing these flips, and Kai
You're
was
like,
also flipping.
damn.
Yeah, we were basically from the very beginning. We already knew that. I mean, I was sure that the potential was there for epic freestyle maneuvers, but not only freestyle. Like the whole freeride part should really be respected as well, because even on a flat lake, you can have shitloads of fun.
Oh, so much.
Playing around with that Parawing and even ground handling on a skateboard on the dunes. So yeah, getting back to your crazy freestyle maneuvers, and what was the actually the goal of creating this first Parawing was meant to have something that's responsive, that we can fool around with it. And we definitely launched the Roger as early as possible. But the case was that our boss Carl from Ensis, he had to face the problem that Michi and I been literally since probably last summer only parawinging. So he was like kind of having no product, but we've been everyday parawinging, and then we kind of stressed him to get something out. Which
When do you make that call? It's so hard. Like the progression would have been so like on a daily basis, everything getting better. When do you make a call to launch?
Indeed, it's still on a daily basis, the progression on new products, and that's obviously gonna keep going like that. It's the same in windsurfing and in kiting as well, with the only difference that there's less driven passion for it, and so then you just literally just develop for like 2 or 3 months a year. And now at the moment, we put so much energy and time and passion into these new innovations that literally every evening we come up with something new. No, but the case with the Roger, Carl was forced to create something, and we were really lucky that Patrick, the Swiss paragliding freak, was involved with us, and
that would have been awesome.
And so the case was with him that his passion for paragliding and his knowledge of creating a flying tool was already there. And then he also started doing and learning how to create wings. And I like how these new disciplines, sort of these different sports, come together and align together. And we were definitely really lucky having the right people at the right place, and still are. And then the Roger project got started. The name actually came much later, but the case was this.
Where did the name came from? Why is it Roger?
We have tennis-related names, so we have the top spin. But imagine the wife of our owner, of the Ensis owner, Karen. She's fully into marketing, and for her, that's like, it took us like 2 afternoons brainstorming how we could get a freaking name that's tennis related. And then Roger Federer, we should not put him in relation, was on the table, and there were many different names on the table. And I guess there's going to be also different styles of Parawings. So we're working a lot at the moment in different options and different directions.
Well, let's continue on this thread with Ensis, because I love to hear more about your work with Ensis. When did you start your relationship with them?
Yeah, well, Ensis was around from the very beginning in wing foiling, and the case was that Carl, he used to be a distributor for Nash and for Starboard, and when Nash came around with the wing surfer, he only provided a 4 meter, and here in Switzerland, we're obviously having completely different conditions as the guys in Hawaii. So we were launching the Score, which was I would say a really good first product for wing foiling, and it was kind of like a magic product, because this wing, it just offered all we needed for the Swiss lakes. So there was a big hype around that wing here on the Swiss lakes, and the people were frothing, and we were frothing, and the evolution was keep going. And that's how kind of this small project was born, and it grew. It grew, and it simply grew with the driven factors of being passionate about sport and passionate
Love it.
about innovation. And the R&D team of Ensis, I guess, is quite unique, because we're here in Switzerland, obviously far from great testing surroundings, but we make something happen on the weirdest little Alp lakes. And
Amazing.
That's kind of cool. And that project kept growing, much bigger than I ever thought. And I'm stoked to be involved from the very beginning. Now we've got everything. We literally got wing equipment, boards, foils. Just lately they launched their foils, which are like
Awesome.
highest, greatest standard of beautiful foil. They work fantastic, not only here on the lake, but also on the ocean. But yeah, back to the Parawing. So the Parawing, Carl, I guess he already knew that, like, working together with Michael and me as very progressive, active team riders, he needed to offer something. And then we came along with, we had like a school project from Patrick, our paragliding wing designer. That was literally a paraglide model as a school project on 3 square meters, this very high aspect green kite. He took it out of his shed, and then literally we took it, we put some bridles on, and it flew. And then we got the blue NASA kite next to it. And that was already over a year ago, like literally summer, past 2 summers ago. And then we got these two, like a very low aspect and a very high aspect kite next to each other. And we managed to merge these two Parawings into eventually the Roger, which was
that first white and pink one? Was that the merge?
Well, the white and pink one was the merge. Yeah, that was like the V. And the guys, they were so crazy that, it took too long from the factories in China we're working with, obviously, to bring them over to Switzerland, that they start sewing their own Parawings. And even Roham, he got 0 skills and 0 experience in stitching something together.
It's so cool.
He cut his finger, like, working in the whole process. But he was 1 week off this world, and then he came out with his own Parawing, and it kind of like, I had 0 expectation, but we flipped his Parawing in the first session. So there has been so many different aspects on how we got into that process, but what definitely was the driven key was just freaking going out on the water and having a great time and having fun with the product.
When you're testing something new like that, where do you even start? Do you just say, let's see how it goes? Or do you have some key things and features in your head that you're thinking about, like, it has to go upwind, it has to do these things? Or you're just like, let's see what it does?
It has to flip.
No,
I'm the kind of guy, like, I'm having this huge wish list, and I'm not involved with the technical part. So I put this wish list, which is kind of 1,000 words, and it has to do it all, on the table. And then we're sitting in the office, and then Patrick, obviously with his very technical mind, comes along, and he's working with all these softwares, analyzing everything and putting everything through the feed. And then, like, mostly my stupid ideas, they get ruined within like 2 or 3 minutes. But that's also good, And then Carl, obviously, on the other side, he's the kind of guy who's always looking for the market orientated stuff. And Roham and me, we're the kind of guys who's just looking for what flips best, And then obviously it's a very creative process on how we're finalizing the needs, the demands of a new product we're creating. And so, the Roger 3 came along, the Roger 3 meter, which you rode it as well. And I
did.
I still like it in certain conditions. I think this is a freaking sick project. And I guess even in 2 or 3 years, I will go back on that freaking reactive, agile Parawing.
I think if you have kite experience, it's sensitive. I think it's a little challenging if you have no kiting experience and everything is new, then
It's almost impossible. No, not
yeah,
impossible. Nothing is impossible.
nothing is impossible. It's just you would have to be very patient to learn it and to understand it, because we naturally, when I get a Parawing, and I've seen people who wing and people who kite get the Parawing for the first time, kiters understand it immediately. Within a couple of seconds, they get it. And then wingers or people who prone and don't have that kiting background, they take a long time to understand it. And that's the only difference.
The kids also, they grab that bar and naturally, like, I don't know why, they get along with it and they play perfectly with it.
That's so
but
cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, talking now about that Roger project, so the V1 was on the table literally overnight. And I'm stoked that we released it that early, because I could not live any longer hiding this beautiful secret. But when we launched it, we were already very sure that like so many different parts of it or different aspect of that product gonna be different. And we're launching this spring the different sizes. So obviously the bigger sizes, even just for the size, like deciding which size to go along with. Carl was very unsure about the new sport. He's still not he's not capable yet Parawinging, as we're only having the 3 meter. That was his excuse. But now we're having the 4 meter, the 5 meter will come. Yep. We're testing 7 meters. We're
7 meters.
2 meters.
Love it.
So, double skin, ram air, whatever. But the case is what really mattered in the very beginning was to create a product which we're not knowing the market for yet. And so we decided to create a product that suits Michael and me perfect on our lake here in Switzerland, which is 25 to 30 knots. And that's kind of the wind range this wing has, this Parawing. And that's the decision we've took and making that 3 meter, which is now available, which is really cool for certain conditions.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, and it's a dream choice to ride with that wing. And then like different aspects of creating a deep power systems. We thought that back then that flipping the ears in would reduce the size of the Parawing. Obviously that works, but it's a really challenging deep power system. And the V2, or let's say the Roger in the bigger sizes, will already be now available, having simple as that, just the frontline deep power system, so that it's way more comfortable to get started Parawinging.
Yeah.
The 4 meter, and I guess also the 5 meter, which is probably the best learning sizes.
Agree.
Will react way different from the first 3 meter launched Roger. And it's maybe every 4 months we could probably launch a new Parawing.
I know, it's so hard, isn't it?
Coming years.
When you guys designed the Roger... Yeah, no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was once telling that V6 is going to be epic. and Carl is always shooting at me, but that's the hard truth, you know, of a new involving sport.
Yeah.
But
it would be challenging to even like, because when you're designing something, the essence of designing is going to your customers, understanding their problems and solving their problems.
Indeed.
No one has a parawinging problem right now if you don't have a parawing. So how do you design something that I think it's a good thing that you guys put it out there, and just the brave, like being brave as a brand to do that, and shifting a little bit the focus. I'm sure it came as a surprise, and 2025 maybe had different plans. I don't know.
Yeah,
but then the Parawing kind of, you know, being able to shift those plans and being adaptive and reactive. I think that's the essence of a powerful brand. And being nimble, working like a startup, iterating quickly, and you got
to keep that passion as a startup. You know, if you're waiting too long, you're missing out on something.
Yeah.
And obviously, Carl, he rather wanted to have a whole range of products, and we're gonna face this. I mean, who knows if we're going to see Parawing racing in the upcoming future? I see
100% we are.
I see a wild future in it, because already now I love racing with my friends on the Parawing.
100% we are.
But there comes like, you know, already when we took the decision that the Roger will hit now the market, we knew that probably there has to be also a lighter version, a smaller version, like a kind of maybe even a rescue pocket wing. And right now, all I can tell is that like our brains are constantly flipping and spinning around just to provide the best possible fun toy of a new sport. We're not even knowing the market yet.
Do you think that we'll have these different, like we'll have maybe 3, 4 different models? Like if you're a downwinder guy, you'll use this one. If you like freestyle, you use a different one, or not really? You think they'll congregate?
Now we're talking of the niche in the niche.
Yeah.
And I always keep saying, if the niche is so small, it has to be an even bigger niche product to be appealing for the freaks which are kind of in this niche. Yeah. So personally, I prefer having 10 models and for each individual wish and goal, the perfect toy. And I know from a marketing side, I guess it's easier to have just the perfect crossover, one does it all Parawing. And it's kind of possible. I mean, the board riding now is a great example. You have fun on that thing. Rogers V2, the 4 meter, I can literally do everything with it now. I could probably even go racing. But then if we're going into more specific products, I'm sure, I mean, at least 2 different models going to be on the table in the upcoming futures. And I cannot tell the number of Parawingers already existing by now. But what I can tell, each one I individually met or know about is freaking frothed about.
Oh my God. The worst frothers in the world. They won't shut up. I can't stop talking about it.
But so for me, one thing is clear. There's a bright future for this very appealing new product.
Yeah, I think everybody who's riding the Parawing now, they are quickly becoming very vocal.
It's a bad truck.
Ambassadors. Because it allows us to do things that we're not able to do. For me, the Parawinging was attractive to start downwinding. And now I see what you're doing. I'm like, ooh, maybe, doing, a backside 3, a stylish, something like that would be amazing.
Yeah, even just the railies.
The railies that you're doing now, like, how I mean, it's just so like, and then so to go back to what I wanted out of the Parawing, I was really involved in downwinding, and that's all I wanted to do. But obviously, when you're downwinding, you have a big board, right? So downscaling the board and doing a prone downwinder was the ultimate goal for me. But I'm not that good. I'm not going to be able to do a prone downwinder, but I can with the Parawing. Very easily.
That's the case, and I can finally call myself a lake surfer without fooling myself, because we're obviously now on mid-lengths shredding these knee to hip high waves, and the guys, I mean, just past weekend there were like 20 Parawing frothers out on the lake having a great time in Central Europe, in a landlocked country that obviously has a lot of surfers, but
that's so cool.
There's one artificial wave here in Switzerland and a few river waves. That's it. But we literally have a beautiful slope that just allows you to catch swell and free ride down the lake.
Do you do a lot of downwinding?
Since I've started Parawinging, what I'm doing now, my downwind behavior changed a lot. Because for me, Parawinging I love it. It's absolutely flow state, going with it's an adventure as well. It's like ski touring. You go, you take your time. But the case was, as a young family father, and with my kind of freestyle aspect of things, I was so limited, going only like half an hour downwinding and then sacrificing a whole afternoon, and now what I'm doing now is literally I combine it all. I combine the greatest aspects of downwinding. I combine riding swell on the lake, cruising upwind, doing like these short waves, sort of more like shortboarding. I kind of attack the wave to the fullest and then turn back upwind, and while riding upwind I kind of look around, I sail, I cruise. And I start fooling around on the maneuvers, on the tacks, on the types. And then obviously it didn't take long, and I started implementing freestyle maneuvers in downwinding. We saw Kailani and the guys in Hawaii doing it in prime conditions.
Yeah.
But in Switzerland, I mean, if you're falling on a lake downwinder, it always takes you 10 minutes to get up and going again. And now with the Parawing, it's just clack, you're back
Yeah,
up.
that was a game changer for me. When I was downwinding, my mindset was I want to ace the run. I want to go from A to B and not fall. Now I do a downwinder from A to B, and I want to fall as many times as I can because getting up is not an issue. I know if I paddle up 10 times, I'm going to be tired. Maybe the 11th, I might struggle. And if I'm on a small foil, you kind of play it a little bit conservatively. With the Parawing, I don't care.
More.
Oh, so much
more.
It's changed the mindset. And now, like you, I'm not even doing the shuttle and the downwinders and all that stuff. I go out to the best part of the downwinder in the bay that we ride, and I just hit that spot 100 times, and get the best part
Even
of the
more.
downwinder.
Yeah. And then you rest again, go upwind. I kind of ride more hooked in with a harness, but obviously with the Roger V1, I was also kind of forced to use the wing always on the brakes. So I was placing my harness lines that the Roger is always like facing in the wind and being solid powered up.
Yep.
And I was doing great angles, and I'm still, everything's in a compromise, and everyone wants this Formula One car with 4-wheel drive, which is the impossible mission. But what I realized with the Roger, as he's kind of more high aspect, and if you're an advanced rider, knowing how to use it, and getting upwind so easy with that thing being hooked in and loaded up. But it's quite scary being hooked in on a short on short harness lines on a Parawing in like 30 knots, fully stacked, and you always get to be under pressure. Going upwind on the foil. It's not yet easy, but it's also not that challenging.
Yeah,
and
you
I'm
just have to
sure
lock in that power, and once you're locked, but it just feels intense, right? It just feels intense. Yeah.
And the case is the evolution of the gear, the evolution of the foils, like these higher aspect foils that get easy to ride and that actually become very comfortable. You can you can breach blind now. Everything's progressing, and I'm also sure like the deep power systems on the Parawing, they will evolve, and we're testing so much different stuff, and even just like different bar modifications. That's actually a kind of thing I love skateboarding, and changing little pieces can do enormous changes. And having this possibility of even just like knotting some different bars to it is a great thing and a great feature, and we will see more of it in the future.
I love the bar of the Roger. It's
a very comfortable bar, and that's the kind of thing. Like when I rode the board riding Maui first time, I was shocked by. I mean, it's a great product, an awesome idea, but I was shocked about the connection between the power source and my hand.
With the webbings.
And I was like, with the webbings. And I was like, this can be better.
It looks fragile, but it's so much better than it is. Like it looks
smart
like it's going to come out.
Engineered and simple. But now, I mean, we're facing now 3 or 4 Parawings on the market. And there will be a shitloads. But there will be. I see at least 20 Parawings in the pipeline or getting launched this spring. So we're gonna have a huge variation of different aspects of Parawinging, and it will be for the end client, for you out there. It will be a great time to get started with this sport, because you will get this freaking Roger that flips you through the sky, or even just through maneuvers, which kind of is probably 2% of the maybe 2% foilers in the world. No, but it will get an interesting discipline, and the development is going wild. Not only on the board side, on the wing side.
Yeah. We'll get to boards. I want to talk about boards. And I actually, I'm in my head, I'm putting these stats out there, and I want to see if by the end of 2025 this becomes real. I actually think that
I can show you one thing. I'm having my logbook. Actually, that's a great thing for everyone out there who's approaching water sport and who wants to become better. I'm doing it digital. But I'm not the kind of Strava bitch who loves to like do the case every day. So I
Yep.
kind of take the notes, and then I have these little icons. And past month, the big turnover happened that I've been winging less than parawinging, and
Ooh.
I mean, it's still. I was in January. I was winging 16 days, and I was winging 10 days and parawinging 16 days. And then obviously I was also windsurfing and everything. And in February as well, I was parawinging much more than I was winging. And this is kind of like it happened already now, which I thought would never be possible because I love winging. I mean, winging is beautiful, but I love even more the variation of all these disciplines. And I could not choose a favorite one, it's impossible.
And I don't think we have to. I don't think we have to.
No,
I
it
like to
all
go
add
out
up.
and do
Even paddling.
whatever's best on the day. What's the best thing to do in these conditions that we have today? And then that's how I see it. And then I go out and do it.
Indeed.
And I think when we talk about the development and who's going to be riding the Parawings, the winging market, which is enormous, that is the people.
Still growing.
I think those are the people that will come on to Parawinging very quickly. And my prediction is that by the end of 2025, 20 to 30% of wingers will own at least one Parawing.
Yeah, Parawing. Yeah, for sure.
And I think
even,
that number
even
will
though I
probably
guess,
double in 2026.
Yeah, and I guess with a beginner wingboard or with a big wingboard, you can approach the first parawing attempt on a flat lake, and this is changing a whole new horizon. And then back to the story of my dad, simply restricting kite surfing for us kids on the lake here in Switzerland. We have ridiculous conditions. It's freaking gusty here on the lake. Kiting, usually, I mean, launching, you can launch alone, but it's freaking scary. And kite falling, I swam last year. I've only had like 4 kite falling sessions last year. That was literally nothing anymore. And I swam 4 times. I mean, it's connected with swimming all the time here in Switzerland. And having this liberty, this freedom of just launching this thing, swimming no matter what, will attract also kite surfers. And I've tried this new F1 project, which is not yet released.
What is that?
I think it's their approach of, I've had a great conversation with Julien.
I didn't understand
it's their
it.
approach of, me neither, not yet still not, but when I tried it, it all made kind of sense. It was a cool free flying sensation. And
so for the people that don't know what it is, explain to us what we're talking about here.
It's a strutless little foil kite on short lines.
Inflatable.
Inflatable. But like very well engineered. I'm curious to see in certain conditions I was actually that night when I tried it, I was having 2 red faces in front of me back again at Ensis because I wanted one.
Do you think that could be the freestyle version of parawinging?
I think it's more going to be the crossover between winging and parawinging at the sideshore surf way. No, actually, I don't know. All I guess is that F1 has to bring out a parawing as well.
How does it ride? How does it feel when you're actually riding?
That's the case. When I rode it, it went upwind very smooth, so you got no bar tension, but it was very efficiently placing in the wind.
Yeah,
it was
in the wind window,
going.
It would go.
But then I was kept telling me a smart, innovative, great parawing will also face this wind window and will also bring us upwind that easy and quickly. So I guess it's a great approach, and I love innovators, and I love these crazy, stupid ideas. Because I mean, the parawing
got me by
used
surprise.
to be the same.
It got me by surprise because they were like, it's taking away the best feature of the parawing, which is getting rid of it.
Yeah,
but
indeed. So who knows?
You got to ride it.
Yeah, you got to ride it. No, but so I'm now parawinging more than I'm winging, and where it goes, who knows? But it's definitely
look, I think for the wingers out there, and for the wingers who've always like looked at the downwinding scene and maybe disconsidered it and said, no, I don't want to learn how to paddle. I don't want to buy a new board. I
A
don't want to
big
buy a
board,
paddle, a big board.
8.6 or whatever, that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, it's
Doesn't
huge.
fit in the back. And for me, traveling with windsurf gear is a nightmare.
Oof.
Traveling with wing gear also sucks. And I mean, I flew a few weeks ago, I was on the Canary and we had like 10 or maybe even more Parawings with us. And the board pack was freaking
Nothing.
light. There
Yeah.
was nothing in it. Like these little things. And we were testing. I was literally testing with 3 Parawings on me.
Yeah.
Which
yeah,
was
yeah.
a stupid idea because, I mean, when they get wet, you got so much on you and it takes so long to actually undo one and the other on the water that you probably be quicker. But I wanted to feel like back to back. So we were testing that. We crossed over, which was smarter in the end. But no, but it's a smart, cool tool. And it's very appealing. And hey, back to low kiting.
Yes.
We're not calling it low kiting in this conversation. I know that Patrice from Gong is fully into low kiting.
Yeah.
And low kiting, I think that could be really big. Not that I'm sure that it will become a low kiting thing like kiteboarding, because it's still foiling, and foiling is relatively complicated compared to twin tip kiting.
Explain to us what the low kite is. Not everybody might know what the low kite is.
Well, if there's a difference between a Parawing and a low kite, I guess it's the length of the lines. The low kite has, the ones I've seen live from Gong, they were maybe half a meter longer, but as well, they're calling the whole range like that, and they have 4 different models already. So the ones I've seen, they were literally like maybe on 3 meter bridles, and we're on 1.5, 1 to 2 meter. So I wouldn't say there's a difference in the style of the Parawing or low kite, but as well, then I mean the final name is not yet written in stone. I mean, it could be some people like D-wing, the downwind wing, expecting it from like flow. Their aspect is going with the flow downwinding, but kind of that also doesn't match anymore what we're capable doing with it.
Yeah.
So string winging will also not be the one, pocket wing neither, and Parawing is kind of awkward, but we will get along with it, I guess.
Yeah, we did a conversion with a friend of mine. He didn't want to buy one, so we got a Peak, the fly surfer, and we did a conversion, and then it works, and we kept the lines a little longer, so more like a low kite. And I feel that the longer
wind was fun.
It was so easy, and it feels more like a kite. It steers a little bit more like a kite. Like it has that little bit of a lag, so it kind of feels like you have lines. Like the Parawing is very immediate, very, right there. And I think for people that are just cruising around, if you're someone who
Or learning
learning, like you're a winger and you like just to go out and sail. You're a sailor. I think something like that, maybe even with a double skin, would be very nice.
Yeah,
and then you're back to a ram kite though, aren't you?
Yeah. With the Peak, because I've seen the Peak also on the water, and I know you got to extend the lines a little bit, because otherwise you're literally like forcing this leading edge squeeze together. But it works surprisingly well.
We went all in and we cut it. We removed some panels, and now I'll send you a photo of it. It's this little square. And it's it's like aspect. One super low aspect. It's like a 1.8, maybe 2 max. And the thing packs so well. Yeah. And I'm like, man, this could be the ultimate downwinding in 25 knot plus Parawing that I can just stash in literally your pocket. Like it's tiny.
I'm curious to see. Last weekend we had 40 to 55 knots. It was ridiculous. I was windsurfing on my smallest sail 3.3, and it was kind of a joke because Michael, he was riding like super comfortable, but it was like the wind just started increasing, so it was like 30 to 40, then it got 35 to 45.
Jeez.
And he was doing flips, one-handed, freaking board grabs, everything, 720 spins, nightmare crashes. And I was windsurfing. I was like, fuck. And I got so jealous, FOMO, fear of missing out. And then I was literally going to the beach, grabbed my Parawing as well. We got some 2 meters to test. I went out there and it increased from 30 32, maybe 35 average, gusting 45, and then as soon as I hit the water, it got there was like flying water passing, so like 55, 50 knots, and I could do nothing anymore. And I literally, like, I went out and the Parawing went from one side to the other. Bah, 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 bah. I was foiling without actually going for it, and I had to do the walk of shame. And then Michael, obviously, he stopped and he was like, I think it's too much. And then I was like, I go with the harness. I hooked in.
Oh my
God. I was literally hooked in. And then I went like from one side to the other. And I guess I reached the max of what's possible in general in Parawinging. Because even if we would go on a 1 meter, it would be such a small, nervous toy that would go from one to the other side. But then Michael did the downwinder. He went straight downwind.
Then it doesn't matter.
It was the easiest thing ever. And for me, what I realized, it was easier to actually flip and do jumps than ride along and stay upwind, you know.
Well,
at least
for some, Balz, for
wind.
some.
No, but I did 2 walk of shames. And now the ultimate goal from our designers to create me a storm Parawing that gets me back to my starting point in 50 knots, you know. But
Jesus, those conditions are insane, man. I think the strongest I've been out on, and I was on a 4.2, was 35 knots, and that thing, it was scary. I just had to sit down, put it down, and just wait for like the conditions to come down a bit. And eventually, it was a downwinder, and I had my last exit point before another 8 kilometers of just hills. So I just left, and I'm glad I took that decision.
And then it goes literally spreading the shoulders, and you go with the flow with the wind. Sick.
Continue to talk about gear a little bit, because I think I love understanding like how you guys are designing things, and what improvements do you think? Like everything can improve, but what are the biggest improvements that you believe we can still have on the Parawings?
Well, on the Parawing, what definitely is a game changer now is the stability, the deep power system on the front lines, because that makes it easier for the beginner to hold the Parawing, and just like as soon as the stronger gust hits, literally at 12 o'clock, the Parawing stays calm, which allows you to get up on your board easier. And obviously you get this delay then in reaction in the types and in the tacks and everything. But someone who's approaching it or just going downwind doesn't really look for this reactive maneuverability. So this is definitely a huge progress. And then the Tangle Nightmares reducing lines is like the magic key. I keep telling, come on, just put 4 lines on it like a kite. And you know, in my simple brain, this works out, and we're reducing lines like crazy. But like,
I like that.
The system and the simulations, they're popping errors non-stop. But that's obviously the way to go. And then bar configurations, like deep power systems in any certain ways. What was very important and still is very important for Carl, he wants this safety aspect with the safety leash.
Yeah.
And we had this little red ball on it to grab and like, or even just like put the safety leash on. And I'm never ever using a leash Parawinging.
I don't use it either.
Meter. And the case is I would be scared falling and then being on that thing and like whatever happens, I don't know. But the case is our designer, he's rather the free rider on the Parawing, so he's cruising on the flat lake.
Yeah.
And he tells me if he's always hooked in with the leash and the safety kinda, he gets no tangles because everything is connected to his body. So he's kinda kite surfing the Parawing. But me as a surfer, freestyler, I want to play around. I want to like pass it wherever I want or wish to. So definitely different aspects on how we're developing and testing. And I guess it leads to different models. But so far, like V2 launching this spring will be a very forgiving Parawing. And as I mentioned before, we only started doing one size. We focused on only one size to just make it capable of releasing something. But now obviously the bigger size is coming. There will be some explanation to the world from our marketing side, because I mean obviously V2 is going to be completely different than V1.
In what regard? What?
In feel, because it's obviously more forgiving but less reactive. But also the pull is different. Like it has more, like we got to pull less on the brakes.
Yes.
So I got less bar force, kind of like less grindy down force, but a much more forgiving sensation on getting up on the foil. So that was the goal on it, and it still is.
What can we do to make the wind range better?
We experiment with ram air hybrids.
Yeah.
The new Duetone, which will be released soon. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
A cool release, I guess, from what I've seen before. I was actually having great time together with the marketing guy who's in charge for actually putting the text together. He's not into Parawinging yet, but he was always asking me, coming up with great conversations, what's needed and how we're gonna call it or whatever. And I guess they have this hybrid, which has like the Element as well, which is actually also designed in Switzerland. The Element is designed by the ex-Chin, no, he's not the ex-Chin kite designer, but by Hosey. And
That's
he has
cool.
this hybrid as well, which has
The pulleys?
some ram air struts,
Oh, the struts.
the
Okay,
red
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So he has, indeed, two little struts, which is 1.2 or whatever kilo water, 1.5 kilo water inside. So if you're not rinsing it right, it's a nightmare to fly. But what I feel with these ram air struts or these hybrid Parawings, that the response on the pumping is much better. But you can succeed the same with a smart profile. And I guess what we're seeing now with our V2 and also the D-Wing, which is also it's a really great wing as well. I guess the new Norse gonna be similar as well. Is a very forgiving profile on pull and release.
Yeah, you can actually pump them.
To get going, I mean, probably we have to do another podcast about techniques, but to get going Parawinging, if you want to be on attractive small gear, you got to create a great technique to get going. So the low end or the forgivenessness of pumping is very important, so that you got a Parawing that you can release, pull towards you and kind of do these circles. And on the latest Parawings I'm testing, I literally pull as hard as I can and it's just there. And I don't really want to deep into ram air double skin kites, because it's a nightmare packing them.
It is.
Michael, we almost drowned with the 7 meter the other day.
Dude, they're actually they can be pretty dangerous because they
didn't want to lose it.
Well, yeah, well they get so much water.
But what I see coming is probably hybrids. Yeah. But who knows?
So you were talking a little bit about that technique of getting up. Let's move into techniques. I love to talk about techniques. Yeah. Explain to us, for a beginner, like what's the best approach and technique to get up on a Parawing?
Yeah. Well, there's two approaches. If you're the downwinder, it's gonna be simple. Take your downwind board and the biggest front wing you have. Maybe not the best appealing down, and then just go with the flow. Get on the board, and getting on the board, put your back knee still on the board, get up on your front foot, be in a stable position, and then get the Parawing kind of up, and then like just drag downwind, and you will eventually get up. And if you're capable of paddle downwinding, you'll learn it on the first go. I mean, I've seen most guys getting up and they were like packing the stuff away. They were struggling packing it away.
Yeah.
But they got up on the foil and they were gone.
Nice.
Acing the downwind run. But if you're approaching it from the wing side, it's gonna be still unsure. We're working on a kind of tutorial as well for approaching Parawinging from a wing foiler stage. And I'm still not so sure what's going to be the gear choice makes it all, I guess. Spot and gear choice. Going on a simple flat day, enough wind, more wind is kind of easier because you can rely on the power of the Parawing.
100%.
But then on the Roger, it has to be so precise on the V1 3 meter. It has to be in these 5 knots of range.
The range, yeah.
the range it's minimal at the moment, but it will extend enormously especially already with the V2, the 4 meter. You have a much bigger range. But the case is you have to choose the right conditions, the right gear. And I keep telling like big foils are lame. That's true. But on a big foil, getting up is so easy. And I can get up parawinging in 3 knots if I'm having a pump foil and a downwind board. And it's so easy to train steering the parawing or like using the parawing fully underpowered because everything is slower and kind of easier. But to approach it from a wing foiler, experienced wing foiler side, you can take your big wing foil board, a slightly bigger foil as you would use normally, step it in both your straps, and I mean, in your front strap, knee on the board, and then get the parawing up, and you will get up foiling.
Yeah.
And then obviously you got to learn to steer that parawing. But again, don't go on the water expecting you will learn it within 2-3 seconds. Rather like play with it on the beach, on the skateboard. I think
that's really important.
Snowboard. That's so important.
If you have a skateboard and you can do that too, that's awesome.
For sure. I mean, you learned it. I've learned the type, the tack, 360, everything on the skateboard.
Yeah.
Because you get so many more. I mean, it's so easier to get multiple attempts. And obviously, I mean, learning ground handling, that thing is so important. That's the approach.
The biggest mistakes that you see people do when they're first starting out?
Well, I guess launching the parawing is the first thing. Like they get tangled in the lines.
Yeah.
Which, like the legs, obviously, when you're sitting on your board and you throw your parawing in front of you, you get the lines around your legs. That happens. So what's the easiest way is keeping it in the air and get to the water and don't get it wet. That would be the dream.
Yeah.
But I think most of the people, they approach it with too much expectation and with the wrong conditions. Especially here
conditions are key, hey? I mean, conditions, like you said, the wind range is so small that, I mean, 5 knots up or down.
You can, especially the upside, you kind of can find a solution if you're like this bulldog who wants it. But being underpowered is
the worst.
It's the worst. And I'm capable flat starting 1,500 front wing just without nothing, just with the bouncing. So this kind of helps, that gets me going in 3 knots.
Yeah.
And then I can fly. But if you're not able of doing these very efficient pump starts, and then further, I got to add, like most of the people I know approaching parawinging coming from downwinding with the long rails, they have like 8-foot boards, and 8 foot in side chop is a nightmare to simply stand on the board. So from the moment I got down to 5'10", 6'0", or whatever, life got so much easier.
Yeah, and that's a great board size. That range there from 5'5" to 6'0", it's awesome.
But telling this now, that's a funny story as well. The guy in the shop here, he was like, so, in the afternoon, I was explaining this guy, he should get like a mid-length for going parawinging. And then in the evening, I saw your post using your 4-3 wingboard. I was like, yeah, it worked great.
That's not for everyone, though. What size board was that?
Yeah, that's like a 57-liter board. But there comes another very important advice on the foils. I'd rather be a bit overfoiled than underfoiled to get going.
100%.
And that's the case, obviously these new efficient foils, they get up so easy and they handle also in bigger sizes, they handle a lot of speed. But that's the approach to learn it.
Love it. Now, if people are already going and riding and staying upwind, you're the perfect person to ask this. How do you jump on the Parawing?
Well, just take that Parawing, put it a little bit on the brake, push it up, and off you go, strapless. Then you
strapless.
Kind of like I'm doing strapless front side, like backside and front side. Backside 360 strapless is actually fun. It's like strapless.
Do you hold the bar or
I hold the bar like inverted, and then I unspin it. We're doing these in Parawing, we're calling it the Palau, which is like pre-roll the shoulder and then unroll it.
I do it as well. A little kite loop kind of thing where you just
kite loop it indeed. And even for the tacks. But what I realized, like in everything, it has to feel comfortable and smooth. And when it feels like in slow motion, that's when everything's right. And on the tacks in the very beginning, we were doing like kind of weird movements. Now we're really stepping it down to just as simple as possible, and that really helps.
So you're not looping the Parawing anymore on the tacks. You just kind of go from one side to the other.
Place it over my head, and but I changed the hands very quickly.
Okay.
So that I kind of unload the weight on the foil, change the hands, and then pull again, and then like kite, very similar to kite tacks.
Yeah, it helps having that.
Not actually turning inward yet, but that will come as well. At least once we're starting racing.
Yeah, for sure.
I was using race foils already. I was going fast on the part. I was bridging the other guy who was on the race equipment. I was actually wondering if we're faster, because he was on a very, like, not a, maybe a 580 something Phantom, whatever. It was a fast foil, but I was like spritzing him from the back.
Wow, you're definitely doing over 40 Ks there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, rather 55 or something. 50. So it's going towards 30 knots on the Parawing already. And I'm sure someone can hit 30 knots easy.
Can you also explain to us how to do a backflip? People are asking, man.
Sure. And don't make it too complicated, because if you're able to do a backflip in prone foiling, in wing foiling, you get the first attempt. And the great point of Parawing backflip is you're not destroying 10 leading edges attempting the trick. I went head first into the Parawing. It was into this jellyfish, so like head first, swimming in the lines, maybe approaching safety as well soon. But the case was, it's not that hard, and I got it literally on the first attempt. And it's someone who's already doing backflips on the wing will not face any problems, and someone approaching it from a new side. The foil is the freaking trampoline. A foil is meant to boost you out of the air like nothing else. And you probably know about back rolls in kite foiling.
I was going to say, does it feel like a back roll? The very movement, similar. Yeah. Very because similar. There's two types of backflips that I've seen you guys do. The backflip where you loop. And
inverted, yeah.
The inverted, and then
just the one, the freaking kite is just up in the air, floating.
Yeah.
And also pulling. And we're not yet, we're facing now that we're getting the height first and then doing the maneuvers.
Okay.
But so far what we have done is literally just use the foil for the momentum of the rotations.
Yeah.
But as soon as products progress, and probably also rider skills, we will get up first and then do the tricks. But it will always be way more challenging than kite foiling, I guess, because you got to imagine we're not having this constant pull and this smooth floating thing above our head. It will always be this reactive jellyfish, which makes it such a unique challenge.
So you find it easier to send the backflip once you're a little bit inverted, then you try the loop on the kite, and that kind of finishes the rotation.
Yeah, that pulls it through.
How do you land and ride with speed? That's my biggest gripe when we land and we just have to pump or just almost do a water start again. I feel like you're not completing the trick. I want to ride out.
It needs to be smooth out on the foil. I guess that's the ultimate goal, and it all matters. Actually, liking get going, placing the leading edge right, and it has to be on the brake before the landing, on pull downwards, and then boosting into the wind.
Nice.
And it's not boosting to 12, I guess. But I think it's going to be a lot of handling skills involved. So I hope it's not going to be the niche in the niche. But I can tell one thing: the first ever Parawing flip has been done by a young kid who's very famous for freestyle winging, and he's not allowed to show it because he was riding the Parawings from his dad, and his brand has no Parawing yet, but he was freaking flipping first attempt. And Crazy. If these kids get their fun toys together, we're gonna see the double backflip just as expected from everyone. But double is nothing. Quadruple is what we're talking about these days.
Oh God.
But that's that goes far from what it's all about with Parawing.
True.
I mean, for me, Parawinging, it's still the pure free ride. sensation of just surfing hands-free.
What
And
tricks
the
are you
white,
working on? Speaking of the free ride and just the essence of it.
what I really like at the moment is all these swing chipes
Yeah.
and tacks. So literally, I'm looping this small Parawing above my head, behind my shoulders, under my board. Feels like swinging around a lasso, and that kind of, and then like doing the carving 360, having the Parawing like around the world behind you, but always on pressure, because you're pulling the brakes, and then the Parawing shoots backwards, and it's on tension with the lines, and then you're literally carving around the 360. And I started doing this in the waves.
Getting into a wave.
Yes, well,
Nice.
and then powered parawinging in the waves can be actually also kind of fun, like especially toe side, like smacking some
Absolutely.
lips, sort of kite wave riding as well. So yeah, we're just scratching the spectrum, I guess. There's a new dimension, new lines.
Yeah. Oh my God, I want to go parawinging right now. Before we finish this, we do need to talk about safety, and I think that people coming into the sport, because you can go out offshore and go pretty deep into the ocean, you can get yourself in pretty bad situations very quickly. So what are your, some tips or some safety considerations for people that are parawinging in the downwinding, or even just freestyling, or whatever they want to do?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that's kind of very important is a board leash, because that's your ultimate last chance, I guess.
Without a coil as well.
Without a coil, I just wanted to mention we've tried that before, and then literally we were like all tangled up with the lines. But Michael, he almost drowned the first day parawinging here on the lake, because he got no board leash, and then he kind of he got up, he fell into the lines, the board was gone, he was in the parawing, and I was laughing my ass off. It was flat water, flat lake, and he almost drowned. And yeah, but that's no joking. And if you're having your leash, at least you can kind of pull your board towards you and then get up on the board again. So that's like, we're working on the wireless system, but it's just not there yet. Also with the wireless bridle system.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
No, but so safety leash. I haven't heard of people using the line cutter yet. Because what I personally think as well is the Parawing doesn't really fly if not all the lines are actually under tension. So I think there's not a big risk of using it on the flat lake and getting tangled in the lines and then cutting off a finger like in kite surfing. It's not like the lines.
There's less pressure.
Potential.
There's potential. Pressure. You can't say you're not going to.
But it's not like the guitar is not swinging like a kite does.
Yeah.
But and when we're talking about risk and whitewater, I've got like nightmare tangles in the whitewater. And I mean, if you're in the whitewater and you got this 4-5 square meter Parawing and it blows up in the whitewater, pulls you along, and you're on these lines. Michael, my friend, again, he almost cut off his finger. It was ridiculous, and it was such a stupid, not a mistake, because he packed the Parawing. The whitewater caught him, and as he just packed the Parawing, he got still the lines in his hand. Like literally a second later, he would have been fine. But just in whitewater, be aware you're playing with fire. But then, like, just stuff the Parawing however you want to stuff it. We haven't talked about that point. Like, there's so many different options.
True.
Still love the kangaroo just under the lycra
It's
technique.
simple. Yeah, I don't like the belts. I
the
don't.
belts are complicated so far. But maybe, I mean, not maybe. I'm sure there will be like some simple, easy techniques coming around.
Yeah, look, I've used the BRM belt, the flow belts. Look, they're fine, and I use the belt more to take a second Parawing out to swap. But I don't like the maneuver of stashing. I think there's a better way for us to stow it. It takes too
much time.
It takes too much time. Yeah.
At the moment, at least. And then it's still, there will be efficient ways coming along, for sure. No, but back to safety. Whitewater is a risk. And then I guess it always helps going together with friends is like anyway the coolest thing you can do. because still shit can happen, especially when you're freestyling. We're talking, I mean, I touch wood again. We haven't seen stupid nightmare foil accidents happening more often, but still we're playing with knives.
Yeah.
So that's
for the amount of stuff that we do, I'm surprised we don't get hurt more.
Likewise, yeah.
Yeah.
But so parawinging, approaching it right, approaching it with respect is definitely smart. And what I keep telling is, if you're learning it, go together with a friend who's capable of doing parawinging already, and then you follow kind of him. I mean, he's taking your wing or whatever wing, and then swap over back and forward, and then it's so easy. And as well, like just recently, I was riding so many Parawings back upwind, and friends were trying, and obviously you're going with the wind so quick. So look for the right environment as well. Like, just don't go offshore and expect to not swim back to the beach.
Yeah. Do you think the Parawing will be something that people just getting into foiling will start on, or do you recommend them having a go with the wing first or something else before they get into it?
It's a tricky question. If you ask me 3 months ago, I was sure, like, Mo, you got to have the foiling sensation already or experience. But now with the latest Parawings, you literally take it plug and play off on the foil, like behind the boat.
Yeah, they're very stable, and having the ability
and go to kind of kill the power.
To kill the power, but I also like what they also give you is that ability just to lean on it. Like, you can actually you don't have to keep looking at it and
unweight your body weight and then get up on the foil.
Getting up on the board and not having to manage it so much, I think is going to make it super easy for people to get started.
Yeah. Obviously it helps, like learning behind the boat is like the easiest thing. If someone has a rope and then like just keeps you like on the rope all the time, but I'm sure like newbies will have the access of going downwind. Downwind foiling is the next thing. And it's freaking challenging connecting bumps. But just going downwind with the Parawing is not a hard thing. Yeah. And maybe it's even going to be appealing with a stand-up paddle, but then it's a hassle with the whole logistics. But learning it, we will see. It definitely attracts kids. Wherever I go at the beach, the kids they just love the toy.
And I'm like, we can play, but be careful.
As well. My daughters as well. She's even on the skateboard. She's already like.
Oh my God, she's gonna be the next professional Parawinger.
Maybe. Who knows?
What are your kids into? What are they? Are they all into sports? Are they into music and arts? What are they into?
Well, they're so young yet. I mean, Lotta's she's 3 and the youngest one is just turned 1. Okay. But I can already see that they're very active. She loves jumping the trampoline all day. She loves biking with us. And she obviously loves swimming and playing in white water, boogie boarding. We're not going to push her, but if she's motivated, and obviously she's motivated to do stuff, we give her the opportunity. And it's funny because by heart, I'm a windsurfer, and my biggest passion will always remain windsurfing. Yeah. But there can be like 200 windsurfers out on the water. She sees one kite, and she's so attracted by that kite. Yeah. But she can rely too, because she's kiting. I mean, just like playing with a kite since ever on the beach. And I guess now with the Parawing for her, it's just like aligning.
Amazing, man. Balz, you have a lot of notes there. Is there anything that we missed that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, the ultimate water sport discipline. Who knows?
Well, for some, I think I'm already considering it the ultimate. I sold my wings. I actually don't own a wing anymore.
Which kind of is possible, you know, especially in I mean, it gives you so much, but still I want to keep the variation foiling, and that's the cool thing.
Well, I actually had to sell it because, you know, if I'm not getting gear, I need to sell some stuff to buy some stuff.
That's the bittersweet truth. Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, I see this trend also here on the lake. Like the guys, they're frothing so much about Parawing. Actually, they're frothing so much about downwinding on the lake in Switzerland. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Downwinding is so addictive, man. It's so addictive.
It is. And who thought that in Switzerland will be surfing? I mean, the longest fetch we got is 42K kilometers. And
That's amazing. That's a great distance.
Yeah, it's a great distance. Yeah. We're doing 25 kilometers of solid runs.
Nice.
In like these short little bumps that like keep pushing, not like Hood River or wherever. I think at your place it's probably also better, but it works. And the chat's going tomorrow. We got wind again, and the chats, they're going off. There's like so many active people. And the funniest thing, we have a lot of pump foilers who's turning now into wind sport freaks.
Nice.
So their
coming in from dock starts.
water sport was actually dock starting.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Actually, not even water sports, but they've seen dock starting around, and you can literally do it on every river here in Switzerland, on every lake. So a lot of snowboarders, surfers, skateboarders, they not only, I mean, everyone who's in for a water sports adventure is somehow getting on a foil and Parawing now. So exciting future, and I'm stoked to be part of it.
Oh man, you're playing a very important role in Parawinging and getting out there and exploring the limits of this sport. So thanks for coming on the podcast. I'm not going to keep you, man. I know it's late there. We've been talking for a long time, so I really appreciate your time, Balz. And if I can ever do anything for you as well in retribution for this, just shoot me a message, man. And if you ever come to Australia, let me know. We'll go out.
Epic. I'm really looking forward to actually Parawing with all you guys.
Oh, dude.
I'm excited.
I'm going to try to get to Hood River in July. That's when I have my next leaf block. So, yeah, if I see you there, man, we'll definitely catch up and I'll see
Playing
what
with
you're...
the gravity.
Yeah, we'll see what you can teach me.
Well, yeah, or you me.
No,
There's always something to learn.
Balz, thanks again.
We learn every day.
Love the chat. Thanks for your learnings and your energy and your creativity, man.
Yeepa.
Cheers, buddy.
Keep it up.